Hey everybody on this June 13th afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. It's going to be me today. Taylor is traveling. He's doing a video shoot in North Carolina with one of our clients, and so uh, he let me know from the road that it wasn't going to be possible for him to join today. So I'm going to be talking about something though that I think is really interesting. So by the way, welcome. Come on in. As you come in, just give us a thumbs up or a like, heart. Just let us know that you're around. Drop us a comment. Let me know who's here and listening, so that we can interact as we go here. I want to hear your questions today, and make sure that we're hitting on all cylinders with you. So addressing the things that you're most interested in. Chuck, Terry, thank you for the thumbs up. Appreciate that. And let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about optimization. Again, we're continuing that discussion that we've been having about optimization, and for your website, for the web, local search. We've been talking about a lot of those just kind of basic, back to basics kind of things that build the bedrock of any solid web foundation and strategy for being online as a business. So today we're going to be talking about how to optimize website content. And this is an interesting part of it, because whereas a lot of the optimization that we do as professionals is in the code and under the hood, stuff that doesn't necessarily get seen by human eyes. It's really more for Google and for the algorithm and the bots and all of that. The optimization of website content is the part that human beings really do interact with. It's the part that they see, that we read, the information that we need to get in order to make decisions. And so it's very important that it be optimized well, not just optimized, basically for your viewers, but to make sure that it's done in a way that favors local search. And so we're going to get into how some of those things fit together and as we go. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is using local keywords. It used to be back in the day that you would, for your content, that somewhere on the page, usually at the bottom or at the top, you would just stuff a whole lot of keywords in there that were related to your services or the markets that you served. And Google seemed to really like that. Those days are not necessarily still around. That keyword stuffing, that idea that there's a paragraph at the bottom that's just nothing but a long list of keywords, that doesn't always work favorably for you. A lot of times it can really hurt. So using local keywords is really a strategy where organic, natural language is really the preferred way to do that. And what I mean by that is working in keywords, local keywords. I mean, that's the names of cities and places and towns and street names and business names and things like that indicate a local area that you're familiar with and that your users would be familiar with, to help ground your business in that community. So using local keywords organically really is the key there. And that means that you're looking for ways of writing personal or personable kinds of content that you can naturally sort of put in a street name or a business name or a community name or a subdivision name or a town, a small town, a city, whatever. I will say the strategy here really kind of looks different depending on where you are located in the world. So if you're in the center, if your business address is smack dab in the center of a large metropolitan area or a large city within the city limits, then you may not even be looking for business outside of that city limit area. In which case it's fairly easy to optimize for your local keywords, because it's going to be the name of your city most of the time. But you can name subdivisions and streets and areas of town the way that they're locally referred to. Like here in Nashville, there's East Nashville, and there's the Donaldson area. There's, lots of different little pockets that are all kind of part of the Nashville metro area. And we refer to those, in the content so that people understand that these are areas that we serve. So finding ways to naturally fit those in and incorporate them. You can also do it in some of the stuff that's invisible on the web page. Okay, that would include your title tags, your meta descriptions, even the image alt tags can sometimes be used for specifying geolocations and local keywords. So let's talk about alt tags for a second. That's, when you put an image on your website, you want to make sure that there's an alternate text that's associated with that image in the code, so that if for some reason the image is broken, the link is broken to the image, or the image won't display in a particular browser for a user who has images disabled. That doesn't happen that frequently anymore, but it used to. Or for someone who is sight impaired and can't even see the images, we need a way to present text to them to describe what's in that image and on the page. So if it's a picture of something local, maybe it's a job that you did, you're showing an aerial view of the roof and workers working on the crown of a chimney or something, then that might be a great place to use the alt tag to describe, our team working on a crown in, northern whatever city or suburb or area or whatever, so that you can just kind of insert that in. That's a really natural way to drop those in. And alt tags are a great place to do that, especially if you're doing your own photography and not using stock photography throughout the website. So, other places, the title of the page is a good thing to do, but you don't want to do it too much on all of your pages, because that can actually have a negative deletory, I can't think of the word now, effect. So we'll talk a little bit about, let's go on to the next one here, talking about location specific pages. So if you're in one of those markets where you're maybe outside of a major metro area, and your bread and butter, 70-80% of your business comes from the little towns, and you serve a lot of them. I see this in the Northeast quite a bit. It's just town after town after town after town. And when for me and my Southern brain growing up in Texas, anywhere in Texas, any 2 points on a map and city-wise on a map in Texas, and you're talking 45 minutes to an hour and a half just to get there. So in the Northeast and parts of New York and elsewhere, New Hampshire, it's like these little towns that are just next door to one another. And I'm constantly surprised. I keep thinking, man, that town has got to be 20 minutes away? He's like, no, it's like 20 blocks. I'm like, oh, okay. So, but if that's the case, if you serve a lot of small towns, then creating location pages specific to the town that you serve can be a great way to highlight that and help Google understand the areas that you work in. Now, I will say, if you're doing a copy paste job where you're just literally taking, language like, we're proud to be the chimney service company for the such and such area, and then you're just taking out the such and such, the name of one town and slapping in another one and creating the exact same content for every single page, maybe changing out an image on that page for that local area, and then just looking for a couple of synonyms to change in the name of the town. Google's not going to like that. Okay, it's considered very low value content, and they can actually slap you for it. Okay, we can see those pages de-indexed or the value of your website overall be compressed or depressed because you're not writing good content on those location pages. So it can be a little bit tricky. You've got to have a good writer. You've got to really know the area. You've got to talk about the area in a way that's very unique to that area, and not just boilerplate information that you're slapping the town name into and hoping that that'll pass. You really need to write well about the area. I mean, it can be things like, anytime we're in Brownsville, we love to visit, XYZ barbecue and our friends over at, such and such church or whatever, right? So, or near the intersection of what you can talk about specific areas, but do it in a way that sounds natural. it in a way that is unique for that page and about that area, that no other page on your website about any other town is going to sound the same, right? So that covers that one. Let's talk about the next one, adding your business to local directories. This is still a play. This is still a really good place. Sorry, I got something in my eye. This is still a really good place for SEO for local. Okay, there's a ton of local directories that you can get your business in, and you can get those listings a lot of times for the specific areas that you serve. So it's worth looking into what local directories exist for your area. A lot of times those can be attached to print, media, magazines, newspapers in your area. It can be attached to chambers of commerce. It can be attached to, as well as the big players like, Yellow Pages and Yelp and things like that. You can get listed in those, and should get listed in those as well. But there's some smaller places too that it's still very valuable. And the reason you want to do this is because, number one, it builds your presence. I will also mention Bing Places and Apple Maps. That's in my notes here, and I forget to mention the maps especially is a great place to be listed, because then you're coming up when people are searching, and places as well. So it's not only a place for your customers to find you when they search, another thing that can pop up in search engines when people are looking for you and your services, but it also helps because some of those directories will publish a link for your website back to your website. And that link is a citation or a backlink that really does help your SEO. So still a really good way. And optimizing that content for the locations that you serve and for the services that you provide and the communities that you interact with, all of those things are very good. Too many times we see local directories not really taken well advantage of, meaning two things. Either people just fail to put themselves in them at all, or they just put in the bare minimum, like a name, a phone number, and a website, or maybe not even a website, but a list of services or something. There's a real opportunity there. If they give you 500 characters to describe your business or your services, use all 500 characters of it. If they give you 1,000 characters, use it all. Really maximize those listings so that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck. A little bit of time spent tweaking those and optimizing those can go a long way towards juicing up your website and getting it seen more often. All right, if anyone has any questions or anything, make sure that that you drop them in the questions box, comments on anything I'm saying as we go along here. So the next is optimizing your Contact Us page. Every website should have a Contact Us page. It should be a generic, fairly generic page in terms of the amount of content that's on it, but it specifically needs to contain information that's crucial for local SEO. Okay, and that needs to be clearly displayed business name, business address, and phone number. Name, address, phone number. We call it NAP in our business. And the NAP information should be consistent with what is found in other places online, especially with your Google business profile. So the same information that you tell Google business profile about your business should also be reflected on your website. Google likes to see those things match, and that's very helpful and it needs to be on your contact page. That's considered the place where you go to find that information, and it needs to be on your website and visible. You can also put a form on that website. That's fine. Some people do, some people don't. It can be sometimes confusing for people if you have other forms like a schedule form or start your appointment online or those kinds of things, to also have a generic contact form. Some people don't know where they should start or which form they should use. So if you don't want to put a Contact Us form on your page, that's on your contact page, that's fine. Something else that you need to put, though, is any place that you're online socially, Facebook especially, LinkedIn, if you're on Twitter, if you're on YouTube, if you publish videos on YouTube, that's a great place to put that information where people can learn more about you outside of just your website. I always like to put a link to see our reviews online and link directly to the Google reviews online for the business so that people can see that from the contact page as well. It's not necessarily a way to contact, but it's a way to learn about us and learn why you should do business with us. So I always like to include that. All right. Lastly, publishing local content. This is kind of the above and beyond, if you will, right? We always tend to, just get the minimum things done on our pages on our website that describe our services, that describe how people can work with us. But going beyond that with blog posts, with Google Business Profile content that is, written for people who see your profile. This includes images. It doesn't just include text, but images are great, especially before and after photos of landmarks and things in your local area. These are all part of what we're talking about here when we talk about publishing local content. It needs to be relevant to your local audience. When they read it, they need to say, this company really gets me, right? They get the things that I care about, the communities that I live in and work in, and visit restaurants and events, community events and things. They're talking about those things, not just trying to get my business, but they're talking about it because they care about our community. So if you're very community driven, there's lots of opportunities to write about the content. Write about the local things going on and create good content, images and everything else. Maybe you go, you're at a local home and garden show. Take a lot of photos, not just of your booth, but of other businesses that you really appreciate the job that they do. Maybe not competitors of yours, but, businesses that are adjacent, industry adjacent. And, share those, share them on social media, share them on your website, write a blog post about how good it was to see so many cream of the crop organizations involved in the last home and garden show and, the parts of town that they came from and those sorts of things. That's just a really good way to make a human connection and provide good content to people. And it does get seen. I mean, it's not the majority of visits to your website by any stretch, but some people dig, and some people like to know that they're working with a company that is very connected and has deep roots. So a good idea to be thinking about local content. It increases visibility in local search results. It's more of an opportunity for Google to see content that might be relevant to people searching for your services. Okay, one last thing, and this is sort of a bonus. I don't even have a banner for it to talk about it, but I want to talk specifically about a kind of optimization that just needs to take place on your website, regardless of, it's overlooked, I think, a lot, whether it's local content or service descriptions or your homepage. You really need to think through what your call to action is for the page that you're writing, that you're designing. All of the content on that page is good, but if you're not telling your customer what you want them to do next, then you're really losing an opportunity. And they may simply just click around and browse and window shop and then leave to go somewhere else. And when they land on someone else's site, it may not be as good as your site. It may be for a business that isn't as highly rated as your site. But that business took the time to really tell that customer what they wanted them to do next. And because we are creatures of habit and we do what we're told sometimes, just without even thinking about it, some people will be clicking the button to start their schedule or clicking to call or, basically doing what that business is asking them to do throughout the call to actions on the site. So don't let someone else who's just writing better copy than you get the business that you deserve. Make sure that you're taking the time to tell your visitors what the next step is to work with you, right? In service businesses, that's usually call to schedule an appointment or start your appointment online, fill out the form to start your appointment online, something to that effect. And so making sure that call to action is visible in all the right places on your website is part of optimization. It's not necessarily part of search optimization, but it is definitely human optimization. And we want to optimize for the sale. Once we get somebody's eyes on our page, we want them to know, to engage with the content and know exactly what they need to do next. So I just want to make sure that I include that. Any discussion about optimization that doesn't talk about calls to action, I think is just falling short. So I want to make sure to mention that. All right, since it's just me today, and that means that, generally we say, what Taylor and I realize is that when the both of us talk, it just takes twice as long to say the same amount of stuff, that one person could say. So today it's going to be a little bit shorter. I'm going to return some time to you because I've said everything that I want to say, and Taylor's not here to say it even better than I would say it. So that's it. You got me. I just want to remind people that you can find our podcast a lot of different places online, wherever you like to find your podcasts and listen. Make sure that you search for Spark Live, Spark Marketer, Spark Live, and find it and add it to your queue so that you get every new episode as it comes out every week. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up and a like if you do listen to our podcast in one of those players. Every single one of them has a place to leave us a review, give us a thumbs up, a like, or a heart. So make sure that you're doing that, as well as on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you so much for being here. Want to remind you, next week we are going to be talking about claiming and managing your local business listings. There's a process to that, and there are some pitfalls that you may not know about, and some things that if you do it wrong can stick you in a box that goes nowhere, and sometimes for months while you're waiting for Google to review your business listings or your listing and get that approved and online. So things that you can do to mess up and watch all your reviews go away. So we're going to talk about some of those things, how to claim and manage your local business listings. I think it's going to be good content. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here, and we'll see you again next week.